Shalom, and welcome to another in our series of podcasts from Temple Beth, a dynamic center for conservative Judaism in Los Angeles. This is a recording of a Shabbat sermon with Rabbi Rebecca Schatz.
Yesterday was a hard day. It was the first day after Passover ended, which comes with its own stressors and confusion. Where did that spatula go 1 week ago? Where's that challah board that I hid and now I can't figure out where I could have actually hid it? Many meetings because we're back in the swing of things. And life. Beautiful life that comes with the ups and downs of living. Annoyance, expectation, joy, longing, anticipation, excitement, and oftentimes trepidation. Yesterday was a day that felt like being the ball in a pinball machine. One text of someone in the hospital, followed by a phone call of aiding a family through imminent loss. Then next, a call from a person with a scary diagnosis. And finally, before writing this sermon, a house call to someone who was in their final moments after a long, long life. It was a tough day, and yet the day was beautiful because it was a reminder of the power and reason of living. This week's Parsha has two major entities, the death of Nadav and Avihu, as Nathan taught us about, and a long list of animals we can and cannot eat according to kashrut regulations. I would argue that both are definitions of life and living. One is the illustration of immortality, and the other is the illustration of purpose in how we live. Each of these texts and phone calls and meetings and visits were emotionally heavy, more for the families and friends than for me, of course, but I care for these people, and I hold the weight in my heart as well. My first instinct when hearing any of this news or answering any of life's toughest questions is to just be quiet, to just listen, to hear between the words, to feel the emotions in the room, to gather my own thoughts of what would be most helpful to this individual or family as opposed to the last person or family who made this same call to me. And often, I'm also asked for my words of blessing, of wisdom, of rabbinic knowledge for how to understand and cope. Vayikchu v'nei Aharon Nadav ve'Avihu ish machtato ve'yitnu vahen esh vayisimu aleha katoret vayakrivu lifnei Adonai esh zara asher lo tziva otam. And Aaron's sons, Nadav and Avihu, each took his fire pan and put fire in it and laid incense on it. And they offered before Adonai foreign fire, which they had not been commanded to do so. And fire went out before God and consumed them, and they died before God. Vayomer Moshe el Aharon, hu asher diber Adonai lemor, bikrovai ekadesh, ve'al panei chol ha'am ekabed vayidom Aharon. Then Moses said to Aaron, "This is what Adonai meant by saying, through those near to me I show myself holy, and gain glory before all the people." And Aaron was silent. Just making sure we all understand, the Parsha begins with Moshe instructing Aaron and his sons how to make sacrifices to God. They do that. Then Nadav and Avihu, Aaron's sons, choose to sacrifice more and use this foreign fire that Nathan taught us about, Esh Zara, that blows up in front of them, and God kills them in front of God. One might assume at the hand of God, if their death was in God's presence. Then the very next verse, which we read as the next sentence, says that Moshe rebukes Aaron for their actions. No consolation, no sorrow, no space for emotion. He just starts talking. And Aaron's silent. Vayidom Aharon is a famous phrase that rabbis will continue learning about and wondering about for millennia to come. Does it mean he was quiet? Did his heart stop? Did he pass out? Was he in shock? According to Rabbi Adin Steinzal Zichrono Livracha, in his commentary on Psalm 30, which also has the word Yidom, This word means to cease. So did Aaron cease to exist, to be himself, to understand reality, to be able to communicate? We do not exactly know, but what we do know is that for a guy who says he's not good with words, Moshe found the worst moment to try and use words as a way of smoothing over a very big problem. Aaron is a grieving father who is now being rebuked for his son's mistakes. Probably not necessary, and definitely not going to remedy the situation. In Avot de Rabbi Natan, we hear a story to illustrate this experience. When the son of Rabban Yochanan ben Zakkai died, his disciples came in to console him. Rabbi Eliezer came and sat before him and said, "My master, is it to your wish that I say a word in your presence?" He replied to him, "Speak." Therefore he said, Adam, the first person, had a son who died, and Adam allowed himself to be comforted in his loss. And whence do we know that he accepted condolence? For it's stated, and Adam found relationship with his wife again. Therefore, do you also accept condolences? He retorted, is it not sufficient for me to bear my own grief that you have to mention Adam's grief? Next, Rabbi Yossi entered and sat before him and said, "My master, is it to your wish that I say a word in your presence?" He replied, "Speak." Thereupon he said, Aaron had 2 grown sons and both died in one day. Yet he allowed himself to be comforted, as it is stated, and Aaron held his peace. And this phrase, held his peace, implying that he accepted condolence. Therefore, do you also accept condolences? He retorted, is it not sufficient for me to bear my own grief that you have to mention Aaron's grief? Finally, Rabbi Elazar ben Arak entered. Rabbi Elazar came in and sat before him and said, let me tell you a parable. What is this matter like? A man with whom a king had deposited an article of value. Daily the man wept and exclaimed, woe is me! When will I be free from the responsibility of this trust? You too, my master, had a son versed in the Torah, who had studied. He has departed from this world. Surely you should derive comfort from having returned your trust intact. Rabban Yochanan said to him, Elazar, my son, you have comforted me. What the grieving father needed in this parable was a reminder of the ways in which the son brought joy and light and life into his life. He did not need Torah, even as a scholar. He needed memory and purpose for his own living. Aaron was silent because Moshe's response was nowhere near helpful or supportive. That does not mean that it did not come from a good place. It just means that silence would have been better for Aaron to process. This coming Monday, we commemorate Yom HaShoah, Holocaust Remembrance Day. In many ways, this is a day of sadness and of realistic acknowledgement, but it should also be a day to recognize the silence, for bad and for good. There was silence, of course, that led to more and more destruction and murder, and then there was silence that allowed for processing and grieving and strength and courage. That silence allowed for life to grow. Rabbi Lord Jonathan Sachs, Zichrono Livracha, shared on Parshat Shmot that outside Yad Vashem, the Holocaust Memorial in Jerusalem, there's an avenue dedicated to righteous Gentiles. An avenue, I would add, of silent and too often silenced heroes. Rabbi Sachs continues, Pharaoh's daughter is a supreme symbol of what they did and why they were. I, for one, he says, am profoundly moved by that encounter on the banks of the Nile between an Egyptian princess and a young Israelite child, Moses' sister Miriam. The contrast between them in terms of age and culture, status and power could not be greater. Yet their deep humanity bridges all the differences and the distance. Pharaoh's daughter picks Moses up and raises him as her own. Those who saved Jews or anyone persecuted during the Holocaust rarely asked questions. They picked them up and raised them, or married them, or got them to safety without knowing anything about who they were. Only that they were humans in crisis. No words, just actions. Life lived, life continued, in silence and in strength. Vayidom Aharon is a powerful reminder that there is a lot of noise, especially in moments of chaos and stress. A hospital room, a scary diagnosis, an impending death. Quiet rooms can have some of the most deafening noise. And often what is needed is a safe space, a comforting hand, a prayer of healing, or even a silly TV show while cuddled on the couch to help the noise go away. In overwhelming moments, it is most important to remember that life is beautiful. Beautiful is not perfect, but beautiful is the blessing of seeing or experiencing something wonderful. As I shared with the person in their home yesterday, we end our lives in the way we came into it, full of wonder and questions and feeling the love of those surrounding us. However, now we are aware of it and can enjoy what we have created. Aaron was pushed back into utility and did not get to pause. So the next time we hear his voice in the Torah, he's defensive of the way Moshe treated him and bitter about his son's death. Maybe, had Aaron been given some space to breathe and to grieve and to reflect and to listen, he would have been able to find comfort in his brother and his community. May we all, as we move into Yom HaShoah and navigate the noisy world around us, remember that life is full of big, beautiful moments like births and bar mitzvahs and weddings. And life is also full of putting a house back after Passover and doing the laundry and taking out the trash. So as long as we have people surrounding us in all of the big and little moments, we do not need the words. We need the hugs, the love, and the silent glances of, "We've got you."
You've been listening to another in our series of podcasts from Temple Beth Am, a dynamic center for conservative Judaism in Los Angeles. If you enjoy these podcasts, we invite you to write a review on the Apple Podcast website or wherever you get your podcasts. For more information on Temple Beth Am, Los Angeles, please visit www.tbala.org.